It's somewhat of an irony that one of the best-known poems, and indeed one of the best poems in the English language, is in fact a translation. Not only that, a translation from a language in which the translator was hardly fluent, but I believe he had the help of a friend who was a Persian scholar. I'm of course referring to the Victorian poet Edward FitzGerald's translation of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. It's a long poem, and rather than dot around in it, which I think would be a shame, what I'm going to do is to read it in 3 parts. So today is the first part of the Rubaiyat, beginning with some very famous lines. Awake, for morning in the bowl of night has flung the stone that puts the stars to flight. And lo, the hunter of the east has caught the Sultan's turret in a noose of light. Dreaming when dawn's left hand was in the sky, I heard a voice within the tavern cry, Awake, my little ones, and fill the cup before life's liquor in its cup be dry. And as the cock crew, those who stood before the tavern shouted, Open then the door, you know how little while we have to stay, and once departed, may return no more. Now the new year reviving old desires, the thoughtful soul to solitude retires, where the white hand of Moses on the bough puts out, and Jesus from the ground suspires. Iram indeed is gone with all its rose, and Jamshid's 7-ringed cup where no one knows, but still the vine her ancient ruby yields, and still a garden by the water blows. And David's lips are locked, but in divine high-piping Pelavi, with wine, 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 red wine, the nightingale cries to the rose, that yellow cheek of hers, to incarnadine. Come, fill the cup, and in the fire of spring the winter garment of repentance fling. The bird of time has but a little way to fly, and lo, the bird is on the wing. And look, 1,000 blossoms with the day woke, and 1,000 scattered into clay. And this first summer month that brings the rose shall take Jamshid and Kaikobad away. But come with old Khayyam, and leave the lot of Kaikobad and Kaikhosru forgot. Let Rustum lay about him as he will, or Hatim Tai cries supper, heed them not. With me along some strip of herbage strown, that just divides the desert from the sown, where name of slave and sultan scarce is known, and pity Sultan Mahmud on his throne. Here, with a loaf of bread beneath the bough, a flask of wine, a book of verse, and thou beside me singing in the wilderness, and wilderness is paradise enow. How sweet is mortal sovereignty, think some. Others, how blessed the paradise to come. Ah, take the cash in hand and wave the rest. Oh, the brave music of a distant drum. Look to the rose that blows about us. Lo, laughing, she says, into the world I blow. At once the silken tassel of my purse tear, and its treasure on the garden throw. The worldly hope men set their hearts upon turns ashes, or it prospers, and anon, like snow upon the desert's dusty face, lighting a little hour or two, is gone. And those who husbanded the golden grain, and those who flung it to the wind like rain, alike to no such aureate earth are turned, as buried once, men want dug up again. Think in this battered caravanserai, whose doorways are all turned at night and day, how Sultan after Sultan, with his pomp, abode his hour or two, and went his way. They say the lion and the lizard keep the courts where Jamshid gloried and drank deep, and Bahram, that great hunter, the wild ass stamps o'er his head, and he lies fast asleep. I sometimes think that never blows so red the rose as where some buried Caesar bled, that every hyacinth the garden wears dropped in its lap from some once lovely head. And this delightful herb, whose tender green fledges the river's lip on which we lean, lean upon it lightly, for who knows from what once lovely lip it springs unseen. Ah, my beloved, fill the cup that clears today of past regrets and future fears. Tomorrow? Why, tomorrow I may be myself with yesterday's 7,000 years. Lo, some we loved, the loveliest and the best, that time and fate of all their vintage pressed, have drunk their cup a round or two before, and one by one crept silently to rest. And we that now make merry in the room, they left, and summer dresses in new bloom, ourselves must we beneath the couch of earth descend, ourselves to make a couch, for whom? Ah, make the most of what we yet may spend, before we too into the dust descend. Dust into dust and under dust to lie, sans wine, sans song, sans singer, and sans end. Alike for those who for today prepare, and those that after a tomorrow stare, and weighs in from the tower of darkness cries, fools, your reward is neither here nor there. Why, all the saints and sages who discussed of the two worlds so learnedly are thrust like foolish prophets forth, their words to scorn are scattered, and their mouths are stopped with dust.